Hi, everybody. I'm Pierre Bouvard, Chief Insights Officer here at the Audio Active Group at Cumulus Media in Westwood One. And today we're sharing a fast food radio case study that almost never happened. This media mix modeling case study comes courtesy of MMM service provider Seeda. They found 6 key findings in this study. First, AM/FM's role in the media plan had been canceled because of lack of understanding of the impact of radio for this quick service restaurant client. But Seeda's analysis revealed that radio had a strong role in driving sales effect, and radio's place in the media plan was retained and increased based upon Seeda's media mix modeling analysis. Seeda found that AM/FM radio effects lasted up to 3 weeks after the campaign, and as AM/FM radio spend increased, there was a cumulative transaction increase. Seeda also revealed the ROI paradox. Sometimes the ROI is highest when the ad spending is lowest and the sales are weak. Marketing effectiveness gurus Les Binet and Sarah Carter recommend that it's better to have strong sales and profits with weaker ROI. Seeda also revealed that investment in Meta and Uber offers generated a cost per transaction that was wasteful and actually exceeded the average fast food order. AM/FM's radio's cost per QSR transaction was much more efficient on a 2-month time horizon and 5 times more cost effective than Meta ads. AM/FM had the 3rd highest ROI, beating paid social, display, TV, and out of home. So the background, this quick service restaurant had cut AM/FM radio because of testing really didn't show clear performance. A 60-day marketing mix modeling engagement with Seeda and Supermetrics measured the sales effect of AM/FM radio on 20 other channels. They reversed the cut of radio and guided the inclusion of radio with increase in budgets. But there were also some existing issues at the quick service restaurant. First, the leadership lacked confidence in how marketing spend was driving sales across all of their channels and locations. And some decisions were made on instinct, not necessarily on hard data. And traditional attribution tools gave conflicting signals and failed to account for offline investment, brand impact, or full customer journey. Internal teams struggled to align on a clear source of truth, making budget planning and creating tension between stakeholders difficult and seeking performance clarity challenging. So, Seeda's media mix modeling analysis revealed that radio's role in the media plan should be retained and increased. There was a 30% lift in marketing contributed revenue during the optimization window and a 5% year-over-year sales increase despite a tough seasonal period. AM/FM radio stayed and grew because the media mix model proved when and how it paid off. Michael Kingston, who is the CEO of Seeda, said, "We've seen this pattern repeatedly, brands ready to cut radio spend because they couldn't prove it was working. Traditional marketing measurements simply can't measure offline channels. When we apply rigorous media mix modeling methodology, radio often emerges as one of the most efficient channels in the mix." This QSR client is a perfect example. They actually cut radio in its entirety before working with us, and now it's a cornerstone of their media strategy. Seeda's solution integrated and cleansed all of the relevant marketing and sales data across all of their platforms, including point of sales, CRM, Meta, influencers. They build a custom media mix model to isolate the true revenue comparison and contribution from each channel, accounting for seasonality, external impact, saturation, and lag analysis. They tested the model's accuracy with holdout validation, and they revealed a 97% fit between predicted and actual sales during the validation period. They identified under and over investment across channels, revealing exact ROI figures. And they delivered budget recommendations under multiple scenarios. So let's take a look at radio spend over about a 1 year period. In the light blue, you have the AM/FM radio spend. As you can see, there were periods of spending and then periods when radio was cut. And then the dark blue line represents the AM/FM sales impact. Now, to the left of your screen, that was the period when the brand had really no understanding of the impact that AM/FM had. And because of that, they actually cut radio for a couple of months. And then the brand started spending again, and then you can see a sharp increase in sales effect. And there's a direct relationship between radio spend and the sales lift that radio is generating. And to the right of your screen, you can see a very interesting phenomena where as radio spending persisted and radio spending continued, the actual sales generated by radio, that dark blue line, started exceeding the investment. So what they discovered is that there's a cumulative sales effect and transaction impact to radio. Now, Les Binet and Sarah Carter, godfathers and godmothers of marketing effectiveness, in their wonderful book, 66 Ways to Screw It Up, How Not to Plan, they advise marketers to focus on effectiveness rather than efficiency. And effectiveness measures are things like sales and profits, business outcomes. And efficiency metrics are things like ROI. Binet and Carter explain that as you spend more on advertising, it often gets more effective, meaning sales and profits go up, but less efficient, ROI goes down. And that's kind of the nature of diminishing returns. But it means that the highest ROIs tend to come from the smaller budgets. So if your goal is to maximize ROI, you would go for the low sales, small budget, low profit campaign. And that would give you smaller profits. Going for the big budget campaign means lower ROI, but bigger profit. And they advise that marketers obviously should maximize the business outcomes, profit, not ROI, because ROI is usually highest when sales and budgets are close to zero. So trying to maximize ROI is a good way, they say, to destroy your brand. And here from the Seeda media mix modeling scenario, you see that Binet and Carter thing playing out in full view. So to the left of your screen is very low radio spend. To the right of your screen is high radio spend. And you notice that at the very lowest spending levels, you have the highest ROIs. And as the spending grows, the ROI goes down. But the goal is you have to focus on sales effect, not efficiency, not ROI. And so Seeda recommends kind of a midpoint here where you have the kind of highest possible sales effect and still a decent ROI. Now, one of the things in their study that they examined was cost per transaction. And what you see to the left of your screen is the Meta cost per transaction was $49, super expensive. The Uber offers was $26. So that was actually more than the cost of an average quick service restaurant order. And you can see AM/FM is much more efficient in line with out of home. Now, they also examined cost per transaction by channel over a 12-month period and then the last 2 months. And their radio really shined with a very effective $11 cost per transaction, more efficient than out of home, Google Ads, and Meta. And the return on investment for $1 spent, radio beat paid social, display, TV, and out of home. So that means for $1 spent on radio, there was $3.60 of sales generated by that dollar of radio. And radio was third behind email and paid search. So what's going on here? Why is it that AM/FM radio performs so well for the QSR category? Well, according to MRI and Simmons, there is a direct relationship between radio listening and quick service restaurant visitation. MRI here looked at the proportion and the index of folks who went 9 or more fast food visits in the last 30 days. And what you're looking at here from left to right are radio listening quintiles. Light to the left, heavy to the right. And a quintile groups consumers into very heavy, heavy, medium, light, and very light media consumers. So to the right are heavy radio listeners, and to the left are light radio listeners. And the index here is frequent fast food visitation, 9 or more trips in the past 30 days. And you can see there's a direct relationship here. The greater the time spent with radio, the greater the likelihood that these consumers are frequent fast food consumers. So our best customers in radio are fast food restaurant best customers. Now let's put some dollar signs behind this. MRI Simmons revealed that when you look at consumers spending $200 or more per month in the last 30 days, there's an inverse relationship with TV. The heavier the TV viewer, the less likely you will see heavy fast food spending. Now this makes sense because the American TV viewer is older. TV is what's playing in God's waiting room. These are smaller households. The kids have gone, empty nesters, so there's simply not as much QSR consumption going on in the heavy TV viewing households. But radio is a different story. The greater the radio listening, the greater the likelihood that consumers are in that $200 or more quick service restaurant spending in the past month. So hard data from MRI Simmons that explains why radio is ideal for a fast food media plan. So our 6 key findings: AM/FM role in the radio in the media plan was saved and retained and increased according to Seeda's media mix modeling analysis. They found there was a lag effect and an accumulation effect with radio. The bigger the spend, the bigger the sales effect. But they also uncovered the ROI paradox, where ROI is sometimes greatest when ad spending is lightest and sales are weakest. So the advice of marketing effectiveness gurus Les Binet and Sarah Carter is better to have strong profits and strong sales and weaker ROI. Seeda's media mix modeling revealed that the cost per transaction for Meta and Uber offers was wasteful and actually exceeded the average fast food transaction order. AM/FM radio's cost per QSR transaction was much more efficient on a recent 2-month time horizon and 5 times more cost effective than Meta's ads. And overall, AM/FM radio had the 3rd highest ROI, beating paid social, display, TV, and out of home. Now, Seeda, the media mix modeler, offered radios a checklist to help brands do the right thing. So first, Seeda recommends that radio broadcasters submit as run occurrences through media monitors and audience deliveries of the as run ads, not the plans. Also create variants. Don't have identical GRPs over time. The model needs to see movement. Generally, you get this when you look at as run. Provide high frequency outcomes, especially for sales events, and model the full mix, all of the media in the plan. And they also recommend to do independent validation where you might go dark in a market or do market tests to prove to finance and the franchisees. The Audio Active Group here at Cumulus Media in Westwood One is a full-service national audio brand advisory. We work with clients and focus on measurement, whether it's sales effect, search and site attribution, or brand lift. And we also conduct a tremendous amount of creative pre-testing. Each and every week, we publish a new audio insight on our blog. You can find it at cumulusmedia.com or westwood1.com. And when you're there, you can sign up to get the weekly audio case study sent directly to your email box. Thanks so much for the opportunity to take you through Seeda's media mix modeling case study, where their analysis saved radio and increased spending for their QSR client. Thanks so much.